Hello, I'm Joel Daring with the International Volleyball Hall of Fame. We are speaking one-on-one today with members of the induction class for 2016. This is Volleyball in Perspective. I'm joined by Danielle Scott-Ahuda of the United States. Welcome.
Thank you, Joel.
Danielle, you're being inducted as an indoor player for what was truly an amazing international career. After a highly successful collegiate career at Long Beach State University that included the 1993 NCAA Championship for your team and your selection as AVCA and Volleyball Magazine Player of the Year, along with the Honda Award as the nation's top female volleyball player, you joined the USA national team on a full-time basis in 1994. And you stayed there on the team for 19 years, enabling you to compete in 5 Olympic Games, one of only 5 male or female players worldwide to accomplish that feat. And you did that with 5 different coaches. You contributed on the first USA team in 1995 to win the FIVB World Grand Prix title. You were named Best Blocker for the Sydney Games in 2000, and then led Team USA to the 2001 FIVB World Grand Prix title while being named Most Valuable Player, Best Scorer, and Best Blocker. You won numerous individual honors along the way and found yourself on the highest stage in the last 2 Olympics in Beijing and London, taking away silver medals on both occasions. So tell us about how you became involved in volleyball, and what do you think the highlights were of that playing career?
Well, how did I become involved with volleyball? Well, you know, we still had PE daily, so it was introduced, you know, through PE initially. And then in 6th grade, we actually weren't allowed to participate in sports as a 6th grader. So I actually became the water girl of volleyball, just so I could be around. And so the coach would throw me in from time to time. And then in 7th grade, I played on the team, but I didn't start club volleyball until my sophomore year in high school, which is relatively late these days with kids starting like my daughter at 4, just like passing balls and things. So I got started a little bit late in terms of playing club, but some of the coaches saw some talent, potential, and it just went from there. So I played with a few different club teams, one each year actually, got some exposure and went on to end up going to Long Beach State, and a great career after that, joining the national team, as you said, after my last year in college with the championship. So,
when you were starting with volleyball, were you also playing other sports at that time?
Right. So I had a pretty full schedule. I was actually pretty shy, and I think that kind of was covered up in participating in every sport I could, all the school activities that I could. I did basketball, softball, track and field as well, and then, you know, during that time, club volleyball came along and AAU basketball. I don't know if many people know, but I did play volleyball and basketball in college. Tried out with the WNBA, did not make it, but you know, my career in volleyball continued, and even did a partial semester of track and field in college. Yes. Wow.
So a true multi-sport athlete. How big is your family, and did you inherit your athletic abilities from your parents?
Family is pretty big. My mom was one of 14. My dad, one of 9. So a pretty big family, lots of aunts and uncles. I grew up with my sister in the household with me, and I have a brother as well. And did I inherit my athleticism from my parents? I would definitely say yes. Although neither played like in college or professionally, my mom did track and field when she was growing up, and my dad played pickup, you know, basketball. He's 6'5", very strong still. He just celebrated a birthday. Yeah, he's very strong and athletic looking. I remember in '96, you know, with him walking around the village and, you know, just all the different venues, people were asking him if he was, you know, a basketball player. So yeah, I definitely would say that I got my athletic genetics from my parents.
The choice to go to Long Beach and that entire experience.
Right.
What are your best memories?
Well, from the start, it was a really tough decision and hard for my mom to let me go from Louisiana all the way across town. So Brian Gimolero really is not a fan of flying. He came down twice to convince, my family, my parents, to allow me to go. And in their coming, my aunt prepared this great Cajun meal for them and things. So that was a good experience. Going to Long Beach, one of the players who was there was Tara Cross Battle. They just won the national championship. I saw the diversity on the team, how the taller athletes were all-around athletes, not just one position. There at Long Beach we had a dynamic offensive system, so I got to hit balls outside sometimes, play in the back row, and so, that was that era of playing in the back row, but really great experience. I think it was a great choice for the time that I went to college. Then California was kind of the place to go, although I had chosen to go to Georgia, actually. And then Brian came back and convinced me, you got to come to our school if you want to reach the goals that you have in mind. I can help you get there. And so with him and Debbie Green and staff that he put together there, I was able to be successful and do some things in volleyball.
When you look back at the team that won the championship, what's it take to win a championship?
A team. We had a really good team, and I was talking to Debbie Green earlier, and it's easier to look back now and say the things that she was telling me and Brian was telling me in terms of disciplines and things that we have to do. It's sometimes hard to hear then, and you maybe feel like the coach didn't like you, but it was all to make us a team, not think about ourselves, but about our teammates and what we can accomplish more together as a unit versus individually. So definitely takes a team, takes hard work, discipline, coachability, all those things. And we were able to pull it together, not just one person, because as I recall, I don't think I was the best in the championship match. A lot of my teammates, really contributed into that championship, and it took all of us, really, from every player on the bench to whoever was on the court to all the coaches, pulling us aside and giving us input. So definitely team number one.
How about confidence? Now you go to the national team, your confidence level, that transition when you first kind of started there. What was that like?
Well, it was quite different. Going from Long Beach, winning program. I think we lost maybe 4 matches, in our conference in my entire career there, So or even my last season there, I can say for sure. And going to the national team was very different, We had a lot of different tournaments, experienced more losses than I ever had. I was a rookie on the team. I was after we lost a game, I would be crying. They're come on, we got to get tough, We'll, take what we lost, the loss, and take lessons from that. Sure. And so that was a big transition. I don't think rookies had as much of a voice coming in at that time. And so it was definitely an adjustment. But was an experience and something that I've added to my pocket to help me grow and how I dealt with people coming in too.
So anyone in volleyball recognizes how challenging it is to be an effective blocker. Mm-hmm. So what was your key to success there?
Key to my success as a blocker? Well, there are a lot of different things you look at when you're trying to be successful. The pass, to the setter's hands and positioning, the trajectory and speed of the ball, and then picking up the hitter. But ultimately, press over low and tight across the net and try to grab the ball on your opponent's side. So just to kind of simplify that. But the game has gotten so fast, so you definitely have to read. Sometimes you make strategic moves in terms of your opponent. So know your opponent, study them a bit, and maybe you dedicate a step or even choose commit on the middle. So there are a lot of different things that come into being a good blocker, and it's developed over time, definitely.
Sure. So let's move on just first to the Olympic experience, apart from volleyball.
Okay.
Memories of going to these Olympic Games, opening ceremonies, any particular special memory apart from the volleyball?
Every part in each Olympics was special. I think the biggest part is having my family there to be able to support. We always have like a friends and family venue, Maybe the sponsors varied, but like having that time in between the competition of being so focused on what you're trying to accomplish as a team, have that downtime to go and meet with your family and just, have a soda together or watch the big screen of other sports, because we don't have a lot of time to see other sports, as volleyball is from beginning till the end. Sharing that time with the family was always special with me, and particularly, when my daughter was there, I didn't get to, in 2012, I didn't get to see her, full time. So going back after games or on off days, it was like definitely the highlight.
So how about on the court? Favorite memory, best memory?
Best memory. Those are always tough questions because there's so many of them. I guess one of them would be in 2008, coming back against Italy. It was either beat them to move on to the next round or not, and that's the nature of progressing to the podium. And Lindsey Berg came in off the bench and just served 6-7 jump serves, top spin serves in. Where I was in the front row, was able to, help the team with blocking or touching balls or kills or whatever. And we came back and won that set and eventually won the silver medal, an opportunity to get a medal. So that's definitely a highlight, one of the highlights.
How about picking a couple of teammates over that time that you just love playing with, and why?
First one that comes to mind is Robin Dos Santos. Volleyball is such a team sport. And a lot of times the hitter gets the credit after there's a kill or something, but the setter is who makes that happen. And she was just so phenomenal. She knew exactly the type of set I needed, the speed, the height, and she wasn't a person of many words, but you knew she was in it, from her expressions, to her intensity. So she's definitely one of my all-time favorites. Stacey Sakura, she came in with the rule change, and I had to tame this eyebrow because it was one of a position that made the middle not get to play all around, and I was very resistant. And so, but she completed me. I came to realize she was my better half in the back row. So playing with her, she was always trying to make the team better. She's got a really bubbly, outgoing personality. So playing with her, definitely enjoyed playing with her. And then just there's so many players, but I'll name those two just to.
Well, and to your credit, I've been watching some highlights of you in the last week or two, and one of the highlight tapes starts with a defensive play. So you made it tough on the coach to get you out of it, I'm sure. How about the competition, challenging and opponents, and maybe the most impressive opponents you played against?
Well, Cuba, when I first came onto the scene, was the team to beat. And man, talk about athleticism. That team was really dominant in the front court. So Maria Louise, Carvajal, Torres, those were really dynamic players and very vivacious opponents. And Brazil, though, throughout my career has kind of been the nemesis. We lost to them for the bronze in 2000, and then in 2004 we didn't make the playoffs, and then in 2008 and 12, the gold medal. So those are definitely great opponents. And actually, I, by the way, played half my career in Brazil. So and it made it particular special and interesting playing against them. But then sport is one of the players said, a game of family. So we're not friends on the court, but off the court, it was nice to be able to, share the experience.
All those different coaches, adjusting to so many different coaches, where were the struggles and how did you handle that?
Right. Well, I think one of the reasons why I was able to have such longevity is just being open to adjusting to whatever I need to do, whatever the team needed for me to be on the team. So I just kept adding to my toolbox, from the different coaches. And it's always an adjustment, changing your style. But, it just made me a better player all around. And eventually, hopefully, a good coach.
Well, we've mentioned your longevity, and so have you. In a minute, we're going to talk about a little break that you took from that, but I have one more quick question before that. So you traveled the world.
Yes.
What's your favorite spot?
Favorite spot? You know, there's a tournament we had in Montreux. It's an annual tournament, Volley Masters. That was just a really beautiful, serene place. You know, we could walk to the gymnasium. It was a beautiful lakefront view. Really enjoyed there. Brazil, again, I played most of my career. Love it there. The fans, the food. It was, I thought, most like my home, Louisiana, with all the greenery. It's a little more hilly, but just the fans there are super supportive and animated and into it. Just a friendly environment. That's one of my favorite places. Italy was great. The fans there are fun too. Just the culture is embracing. Like I loved it there. I mean, it's hard to to just name one. Japan. You know, I played there for a bit, and that was one of the places I wanted to play just to improve my defense. Because they were so intense with that. But again, love the fans. Love how receptive they were. But Brazil ended up being one of the places that I thought I could actually live just because of the culture.
That's neat. So you took a little time out in 2010, and your daughter, Juliane, was born.
Right.
I think we're going to bring her up here.
Hey, baby girl.
So, Danielle, share your thoughts about that period of time, especially what it took to come back and compete at such a high level, and then you've got the new roles to balance.
Right. So it was pretty funny. I played part of this season when Hugh McCutcheon took over as coach, and I played my last season. I was my last tournament. I was 3.5 months pregnant, and we finished the tournament. And I was like, "Team, I have something to announce." And before I can get the words out, Heather Bound, "You're pregnant." I was like, "How'd you know?" And she was like, "I knew it was something." And so after that, obviously, I took some time away. And when I came back, it was definitely challenging because the team was pretty close. Like you could see that the same persons were traveling. And volleyball is as such, it's kind of like a year-round tryout. But you kind of know where you stand if you're on more rosters, if you're traveling, and then if you're playing once you are traveling. And so the same people were traveling, and I was like, wow, this is pretty close. This is going to be challenging. I remember in July of 2010, I came back to train a bit, and I was out there on the third court, and they were like, honey, you are not going to get on the first court. I was like, okay, so there was a challenge, you know. And so with that experience, I was like, okay, I'll just, keep working at getting better. And the last 2 days, I was invited to be on the court in the first court. So I know, okay, there's a little hope. And when you're giving a competitor a little hope, then there's that drive. And so when I came back in 2011, I'd played a season in Brazil, gotten back into shape, and I was told, not yet. Wow. You're good, but not yet. But that was just enough to make me want to keep going for it. I wasn't told no, just not good enough yet. And so I took that. I was faced with a lot of challenges, Pay was cut, didn't travel, wasn't named on teams, but I was like, I am going to stay with this until I'm on the team until I'm not on the team. And eventually I was named to the roster, and I was speechless because at this level, all the middles are good, and it's just a little difference in what the team needed. And I was chosen, and I was so elated. I just stood up, and I was like, can I hug you? And I ran around, and I gave all the coaches hugs and things. But balancing act definitely was something that I had to do. I was grateful that I had my mom who sacrificed, and she traveled with me, and she took care of my daughter when I was on the court playing, and came home, and I'd shift gears and cook or play with or do whatever I needed to do with her. So there's definitely an element of balance, but it's been great. I wouldn't have it any other way.
So we had a question for you. She has fans all over the world. How about you? Are you one of your mom's fans?
I'm her number one fan.
Number one fan.
And I'm your fan too. You inspire me every day.
So have you stayed, apart from maybe a little bit with your daughter, have you stayed involved in the sport beyond your time playing for USA Volleyball?
Right, so annually for the last 3 years, I've been invited to coach with the USA High Performance, and that's been great, and it's been a highlight of my summers to work with those girls who are aspiring to be Olympians, to pour into them. I hope to continue to be able to do that. I'm looking to do some more volleyball in Baton Rouge. That's where I'm living and residing, so hopefully I can get some things going and work with some of the people there and see how things work out with that.
Couple more questions.
Yes.
So with that length of a career, you saw a lot of changes in the game. You saw changes in rules. You saw changes in strategies. I'm trying to think when the slide really became popular. But I mean, you went through a lot of changes and had to adjust. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the game has definitely changed a lot. You know, when I started playing, obviously, you know, you had one time in and one time out, and middles played all around. Yeah. And, you know, you had to serve from the right side of the court only, not the left. Like, nets were not legal, any part of the net, right, a hair, you know. So there's been a lot of rule changes. The game definitely has sped up quite a bit. It's a really faster paced set and things. I think, you know, the focus now is mindset. You hear a lot of mindset, and the national team has particular psychologists, sports psychologists working with them. And so there's a lot of movement towards helping people be tough, like mentally, when faced with different aspects of the game in terms where there's more pressure and things like that. So it's definitely moved from not just being physical, but also being mentally tough.
How about your game? What did you think the strengths were of your game?
I think that was one of them, just being tough and a competitor and not giving up, and to be able to help my teammates have that same type of intensity and will and know that we can do this. So I think that's definitely one of my strengths, just doing things by example, working hard. So maybe not necessarily a whole lot vocally, but seeing how I'm going to go for every ball. You may beat me one way, but then it won't happen the next time. So just resilience, I guess.
So how about this one? Are you going to be playing some volleyball?
Yes, sir.
You started young. You started young, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you show us your platform? Show us how you pass the ball. Oh, yeah.
Good place to start right there.
Good place to start.
So we got one last question for your mom, and here it is. So this honor, how do you feel about being inducted into the International Volleyball Hall of Fame?
Kind of like my volleyball career of 5 Olympics, you know. It's pretty surreal and obviously a great honor. There are so many people before me who've been inducted into, and it's like, yeah, wow, what a great honor. And then now it's me. It's like, oh, wow, I've been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And, you know, I guess I'm still letting that sit in, the enormity of what this honor is. To be chosen by my peers to receive this honor is really great to know that I guess some of the accomplishments that I've been able to have with my teammates, with the coaching staff, and all the people who are involved in success of an athlete. It's really a great honor. You know, these things don't come by one's own merit. So it is an honor, like with the support system I have from my family, from friends, you know, the fans who are out there, all the people who do the behind the scenes work. Man, I just feel honored to be a part of it.
Well, congratulations once again.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with International Volleyball Hall of Fame Class of 2016 honoree, Danielle Scott Ahuda. This is Volleyball in Perspective, and I'm your host, Joel Deering. Thank you for watching.